got my foot on, I got it fitted. Do you feel bonita? Because you look bonita. Oh, shoot. Shaking the camera. Hey, welcome. Welcome, everyone. This is the Corvus Cast, another episode, long time coming. And I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I want to ask, how the heck are you? How the heck are you? Lots of stuff happening right now in Corvus Saber Foundry world, and it's moving really quick. I'm hoping that when everybody comes on, we can start talking about some fun stuff. I got the light on over here, and I'm wearing gloves, so that means one thing, which is exploring parts in the build, doing things over here in the, we'll call it the workshop, the build area, right? So doing some stuff over there now. So let me get my screen sorted out here. It's been a long time since I've done a cast, and so I'm a little bit nervous. I hope the mic is loud enough. I think I got my gain set again. Every couple of weeks, there are always adjustments to OBS. Things always get changed up and goofed around, and so I'm always having to tweak my settings. What's up, Mr. Knight? I appreciate you. And Ron, it's Ron. It's the usual suspects. They're all here. That's good. I'm glad to see you guys. I'm super happy, and I hope that you're excited about what I'm about to show you. If you are not in the Discord, I'm telling you, you should be in the Discord, because that's the easiest, fastest way to get access to me, to talk to me about all these different things that I'm developing, as well as to see new developments kind of before they happen, or before the cast even, because I'm too excited to hold on to them and keep them close to vest. I always like to talk about them and show people the stuff that I'm working on, just because it's interesting and fun, and I like to keep you guys entertained with stuff. Oh, hey, there's Zeus. What's up, Zeus? Welcome. If you guys haven't, I know you guys are all in the Discord, so I don't need to worry about that. You're my usual crew. But if you're coming to the cast and you're picking this up after the fact, after the cast is over with, please do me a favor. Come and join the Discord. I should put the link down here in the bottom. Let me get that really quick. I'm going to drop this link really fast. Maybe somebody... Oh, here we go. Got it. I got it. All right, here we go. There's a link to the Discord. If somebody... Whoops. There it is. There we go. There's a link to the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, it's in the chat. If you show up, come down, hit the chat, get in the Discord and join us. That's where we talk about all this stuff. It's the quickest access to me, and I'm always available in the Discord, even at my, I don't want to say this out loud, but even at my day job, I usually chat with people through the Discord when I'm not super busy. If you get an opportunity to join it, that's how you get access to me. That's how we do stuff. I want to apologize up front to everybody. When I took on the task of doing the oh, hey, there's Ace too. Holy cow, got a whole bunch of people. When I take on the task of doing all of the things that I do, I completely didn't realize how in depth and involved doing these schema kits was going to be. I thought I would get it done pretty quick, do it really fast, and work through it. And I guess that workflow just isn't doing the thing that it was supposed to do, which is get it done quick. And so you guys have provided me quite a few of them. It's slowed down a good bit, but that activity of doing all of those things has taken me away from doing the other things that I really need to do, which is send out emails on a regular basis to talk to people through the email traffic channels that I've got for the business, and then do other business related stuff. And so I'm trying to absorb all those different pieces and get them moved around to where I'm being successful about all those things and being a good business person all in the same regard, right? So it's taken me away from doing the cast, and then also we're getting into summertime, and my kids are getting to the age where it's time for really busy activities like baseball and organized sports, and so all the kids are doing sports ball and not doing lightsaber stuff, which kind of sucks, because I would rather them do lightsaber stuff, but it's whatever. That's why I got this burnt nose and probably got a red neck when I turn to the side, because I've been outside doing sportsing things. The sun, it burns us after we've had the winter inside. But so many things happening in Corvus Saber Foundry world, talking to lots of people, and the newfound notoriety of Corvus Saber Foundry after the announcement that TCSS said that they're no longer going to be making parts, and then I don't know what's actually really happening there. it's brought a lot of attention to me and a lot of attention to Corvus Saber Foundry, and I'm really excited about it because it means more opportunity, more people into the fold, and more finances to build more parts. And so I have all of this year's parts basically mapped out for the next like 6 or 8 months left in the year. And that may end up leading to like wild card opportunities when there's a surplus of funds. Like I've told everybody kind of previously, I'm not really drawing a check off of this. It's all just fun money, and I throw most of my money back into development to make parts until I can get to a point where the inventory is self-sustaining. I can show you inventory off to the right, off to the left side. Oh, what's up, Hawksite? Oh, I know who that is. Welcome. And I just plugged the Discord, so if you have opportunity to get Discord, come check that out. There's a link in the chat. I think you should be able to see it. But again, I've made mention of this previously. I don't really draw a paycheck off of this. It's just for a lot of fun. I like to do fun stuff here. And so I throw all the money back into dev and making new parts. So if there's surpluses of cash floating around for operating costs and things like that, I usually end up throwing it back into making new stuff. So that's pretty fun. But you guys are here because you want to see what parts are on the table, and I got to tell you about what parts are currently in dev right now. And so I'm going to drop some parts into my, it says I got to update. I don't want to do that. I got to drop some parts into my view here to show you what I'm working on before I take you over to the table, because when I start playing around on the table, I got to look to the chat block and find out what you guys are saying and all that stuff. I don't want to save this. I just want to work inside. So Fusion 360 did a stupid thing, and they decide, it's not stupid, it's actually really smart, but they make it to where you have to differentiate between a single object that you're making, or a single design that you're making, or an assembly. And it's super annoying because every time that you do that, you have to define what it is that you're working on, and you have to make it say that it's a assembly. So I got to create a new assembly. I don't want to save it. It's so obnoxious. Let's just save it, whatever. I don't even care anymore. You have to make what amounts to a whole new assembly so that you can bring other parts into this block and move stuff around. And so what I'm trying to do right now while I'm talking to you is populate this thing so I can show you what these items look like, and then I can tell you that they're in development. And I think I did it in the last cast. Let me see if I can find this thing really quick. Sorry, it's taking me just a second. I scrambled for getting this together for this evening because I wanted to do it. It's a special one. It's a Friday night one. I don't normally do it on Friday. It's typically a Saturday thing. And tomorrow I have to take my son about an hour and a half or 2 hours away to go do sports ball. So we're gonna be doing some of that stuff very, very soon. And if you hear some yelling or screaming or kid noises from up above me or something that pervades into the microphone, that's my kids. They're just being obnoxious, as kids do. So it's fun. 1 second here. Let me swap this thing over. Here we go. Now I got it. Bam. Okay. So I'm experimenting with some new ideas on a couple of things for the next couple of months, and I decided to chase after additive manufacturing, or 3D printing as everybody knows it, to make some of these parts, because I think that might be the right way to make these parts for the future, because the cost of manufacturing, or at least machining these components, was pretty pricey. Probably like 3 to 4 times more expensive than what I wanted it to be originally. And then also the complexity of some of these parts lend themselves really well to 3D printing. And so what you have in front of you here is 3 parts that nobody has really seen, or well, not maybe seen, but 3 parts that nobody has on the market at the moment, which is a 15-degree bend, which is something that I've been asking about and trying to get my hands on for a while, and nobody has done it, so I'm just going to do it. So I have a feeling it's because it is that expensive. And some innovation, not really innovations, but just design choices that I made here. So each of these has a shelf inside of them. So if you decide to put it on the end where an emitter goes, you don't have parts that are slipping down inside of this bend, so that it can't have like a pin, what's called a pin PCB on the top of it for like a Xenopixel lightsaber or something like that. This shelf here is wider than the size of that actual structure, the Xenopixel pin PCB, in there, and so it would fit on top of it with a little guide to hold it. So you'd be able to make a decent emitter out of this as well. And it's got a pass through in it, just like you would have for like a thin neck type of thing. So it's going to be weird. There's no way that you're going to bend unless you had a gentle curve. There's no way that you're going to bend a core around that corner, right? You're not going to make the bend with your core. And so chances are pretty high that you're going to either have a separate speaker section or a separate emitter section so that it can get around that curve and be usable. So here's a 15-degree bend. Here's a 30-degree bend, and of course we have a 45-degree bend. So those are things that that we already have, or those are the one that we already have is the 45. These are the 30s, and I'm exploring some ideas on how to make this not threaded, because timing these things is really, really annoying, right? Anytime you have a bend, anytime you have something like goofy that you have to make some crazy alignments to, it makes it kind of difficult to get it aligned and done just perfectly. And so I'm exploring ideas on how to make this not threaded, to where you would just have an adapter on one side and screws on the bend, and you would connect it kind of like something that's slotted or has some sort of key to it, to where it would slot in and fit, and then tighten the screws down, and it would be connected completely at the bend angle that you want it. Of course, there's still some level of indexing, but it's not at the bend. It's at an adapter that you would be putting on, or the flat part or a straight part that you would be putting onto it. So enough about that one. Let's talk about this one on the right-hand side. I just pivoted over to it. This is a mechanical complex adapter that I created last year, June timeframe, and I wanted to get it machined. You can see it kind of has like this key shape here, another key shape there, and this flat mill section here. Because of the complexity of this part, I thought that it would be a good idea to try and get it manufactured 3D printed. And the reason why is because I think that it probably should have that texture that comes with printed 3D aluminum, 3D printed aluminum. It has kind of like a I don't call it marbling, but it has kind of like a oh gosh, I can't even think of what the term is. It's hard to think about it. I don't even know how to describe it. It's got a texture to it. It basically looks like almost like welding spatter, but like much finer. And it's almost like something you would find on maybe, oh my goodness, my brain stopped working. I can't even think of what it is. It'll come to me in a minute with that recall. What's really cool about this is it's less about piano keys, and it's actually, if you take a look at like a Graflex clamp, it's a Graflex clamp wrapped around, essentially a Graflex clamp wrapped around the outer diameter of a tube. And now it's just a pattern that I create. I'm trying to find an example of it here to show in front of the camera. I'm going to switch back to this camera really quick and show you what that looks like. Right? The Graflex clamp PCB, except that it's wrapped around a tube. I thought that looks pretty cool, and it would be really neat to have it underneath of the recessed from the main level. So it's actually not full diameter. This is a 15.75. It's 31. I think it's 31.5 millimeters. So it actually rests underneath of the level of the outer diameter of VHC. So it would look like. So it would actually. I think that you're right. I think the shade would probably try to cover it in copper, and I think it would look pretty freaking awesome to be honest with you. But it's designed all of these like complex mechanical adapters. I've got a bunch of them in here. You can kind of see them off to the left-hand side of the screen. And I'll pull some of them out really quick and show you what I'm working with here. These are all ones that I really, really like. I think they look super cool. I designed some of these on air, and so this one kind of was intended to look kind of like something like a I guess focusing array, or some kind of like a reactor type core thing that's feeding energy like either this direction or up that direction or some such. So kind of a cool, interesting little look there on that one. I've got another one that kind of looked like a magneto type thing. I'm just pulling stuff out to show you these looks really quick. That one is something that's more like a magneto or some kind of banded effect that maybe collimator, I guess maybe might be the word. That's a made up fancy word. But yeah, like some kind of array of some sort that would capture this energy. And these are, what's going on with my machine? Something's happening. There we go. Having problems clicking on the doodahs. I don't know why it's not letting me click on them. Can't click on any of the edges for some reason. Anyways, the edges of all of these are basically at like 31.5 or just under the outer diameter of VHC. So it looks like it's something that's internal, kind of poking out from the inside of the lightsaber, which I really like. And I'm going to try and get all of these, or many of these, printed in 3D, or 3D printed, so that we can have them as those cool kind of textures. It's almost like if you look at some of the guys right now in the community, like KR Sabers, and there's one other one, I think, maybe Solo Sabers. Some of these guys are printing in brass in 3D, and it has kind of that like pig metal type texture. That's the terminology that I was looking for. Pig metal. It's kind of like a cast metallic look to it, a cast metallic style. Here's another one that I did on stream, I believe, which is a Falcon. It was styled after the Millennium Falcon nozzles on the back of the engine. So here's another one that's kind of fun, like interesting to look at. Whoop. It's kind of an interesting look to it. Like 6 of these Johnnies around the outside of it, kind of stuff. But these are so complex and so small that it's really impossible. I don't want to say impossible, but it's really, really difficult for a mill or a machine or a lathe or anything like that to get in there and do that work. And so they're a really prime candidate for 3D printing. And printing them in aluminum and then cutting the threads on them is still only about half of the cost that it would have taken me to get these machined in the first place from the manufacturer. So getting these all kind of sorted out. And you saw me make this one, Ron. I can't believe you forgot about that one. Getting these made is still only about half the cost from the contractor, half the cost from the manufacturer as it would have been to have it done at the manufacturer. So definitely prime candidates for 3D printing. But these 3 are currently on the way. This was a test principle of one of the simpler ones. These 2, I think the prints are going to be really good for these angles, and I believe, based on the information I've got, I'll have prototypes in my hands around the 4th of May, or they'll be done around the 4th of May holiday. So probably a week for delivery or so from overseas, and then I'll have them in hand and I'll be able to show you guys. So it's just literally around the corner. It's It's the 24th today. We got a week and a half maybe, or a week and 3 days. So plenty of opportunity for us to explore and play around with that stuff after the holiday, or when the holiday gets here, and keep it going. If you give me just a second, I gotta take a drink really quick. Pardon me. All right, so let's talk about like the really cool stuff that we got on the tap today. So I have parts in hand that came to me on Thursday, Thin Neck Thursday of all things, and it's been convenient because I got the teaser pics from the manufacturer on Thursday. They kind of gave the hype train, or got the hype train started, and then I got the actual pictures, I got the actual parts by Thursday. It took a minute for them to get here, and the original delivery was like Monday, and then I kept getting strung along to like Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and all the while I'm sitting in seminars checking my email for this product to get to me, and I was like, man, I really want this stuff in my hands right now so that I could play with it. And ultimately it ended up showing up on Thursday, which kind of sucks that it took so long to get here, but it was really cool that it arrived on Thin Neck Thursday because they're Thin Neck relevant. So let me go ahead and swap this over to the other scene. There's the wipe, like we all know. Corvus Saber Foundry back at you. And here it is. So these are 4 parts that were designed, and the reason I have some of these other pieces out here is I got to show you what this is for. So all of you guys are familiar with the Obi-Wan Kenobi grip. It is designed to mimic and be scaled for the Obi-Wan Kenobi, or excuse me, it's designed and scaled for VHC. So a lot of the Obi-Wan Kenobi grips you see out there, or at least a lot of the grips that are available that look like Obi-Wan Kenobis, are like 1.5-inch size grips, or they're outsized for VHC, so they don't really fit very well. So this body segment was scaled specifically to cover the 9 ribs that are supposed to be there, and there's a 10th, not really rib, but tip end to this, and it fits up on the top of it, which is this component here. So this is a thin neck base. This piece is, let me turn this light down just a tiny little bit. It might be a little bright. There we go. That might help the glare just a little bit. This is a new thin neck base that's been designed, and it's designed to interact directly with the Obi-Wan Kenobi grenade grip, right? It has a contour down here underneath of this bevel or this angle that matches the shape in between the grip lines or between the grip lugs on this piece. So let me just thread this in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's pretty much perfect in my opinion. You can barely see the line once it's been put together there. Hopefully it's focusing. There it goes. The glare off of it is kind of rough. Try to give you something so it... yeah, it's not really working very well. I got an autofocusing camera and it does the thing, but there you go. You can see what it looks like. It's about the right size of the Obi-Wan Kenobi grip, and those two components work together. The cool part is that this can go with just about any component in the collection. You can put this connection here on this piece and make a basic connection without the grenade grip. You can put it essentially on top of a switch if you really wanted to, and it will also interact with all of the current, basically with all of the current, accent rings that we have at our disposal. So I'm going to put a Type 4 on here really quick, show you what that thing looks like. Whoop, got my glove stuck. Oh, there we go. So there's that part connected to that. Well, you guys aren't really here to see this part. You guys are here to see the other part. Sorry about your ears. Okay, so we'll go ahead and put that together and attach it to my grenade grip. So there's the grenade grip, finished, completed. Looks really nice, right? And what comes with this selection is 4 more parts. And if you're familiar with what the Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber is made out of, you'll know that basically the top end of it is the back end of a rifle grenade from World War I. That's right. They used to stick a grenade in the end of a gun, kind of like this. Imagine that this is the barrel of a gun. Or actually, here, let me do this. Imagine that. Let me see if I can find another one here. Oh, I'm trying to get the right one. That'll work. Imagine that this is the barrel of a gun, and this is the grenade. So grenade grip, it's actually named after a grenade. It's a rifle grenade, right? And this is the back end of it that goes into a gun. And it would fit in just like this for you to shoot that component out, or shoot that out with a pull of a blank, I guess. And this part is actually called a wind vane. And so if you're familiar with that, it's the rifle grenade wind vane. And so what I did to adapt this to VHC, and there have been a lot of different systems that have done something similar to this, but I don't know that they've done it the same way. Usually people will like swap this wind vane component out for something else, or make it to where that whole thing comes apart and it's like 3 pieces or something like that. And so what I did is, instead of making something that was completely swappable, I wanted to maintain the integrity of this entire wind vane component, so I manufactured it from one part. Hawks, I just saw you ask your question. If you were to join 2 grenade grips, would the look flow evenly and look like one piece? I have had it line up like that before, where I got lucky with one of my connections here. So I can show you really quick. I can put one of my stealth adapters on it and see if it'll line up for us. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. There might be a little bit of massaging that you have to do to get it to work like that. In this case, it doesn't. You can see that it's kind of off kilter. And so it would just be a really simple massage on one of the ends of this to align it either further that way or further back this way. Your choice, I guess, to make that align. But you can make them align. When I designed that grenade grip, I designed this well in between these 2 parts to be equal distant between the one lug on one end and one lug on the other end. And so when you split it, it's equidistant between, or not equidistant, but it's roughly half the distance between each of these lugs, the way that it's kind of supposed to be. It doesn't line up on this one, but it wouldn't take much to make it line up relatively easily. And if you know about clocking these parts, you would put a piece of sandpaper down on the surface. So if this is a piece of sandpaper, you would put that sandpaper down on a nice flat surface and then lap this in this kind of pattern, in like a figure 8 type of thing. Instead of like this, don't do that, do like this. I'm kind of doing that upside down in a crazy way. Anyways, yeah, that's how I would do that if you were trying to achieve that matched look. But there was one time that I did it with one of my parts, and I don't know how it happened, but they lined up perfectly, and I should have kept those two parts together. I should have kept all my parts together, the ones that did that. So anyways, back to the wind vane. The wind vane is one unified piece. It's designed to look like the Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is okay because there's some elements of the Luke that look similar to the Obi-Wan Kenobi, and in my opinion, at first gloss, someone's not really going to know the difference between, most onlookers are going to see something that looks like Luke's lightsaber, but they're not going to be like, oh my god, that's a perfect match to Luke's lightsaber. So, if you can get it close, I think that it's close enough, and I tried to scale it appropriately to fit VHC. And so the wind vane, as you see it here, it's got threads, and you can see the veins. I hope you can see the veins. Each of those individual pieces there, you can see them, I think, showing up there. There it goes. It kind of finally focused, and maybe it'll focus on the threads. But basically, those cuts they're cut through the threads so that we can attach one of 3 of these wind vane pieces, or wind vane covers is what I'm calling them at the moment. They could change. And so try to show you these guys and get an angle on it so you can see it well enough. But there's 3 of them. This one here is a Luke shape. It's got the squared edged piece. This one here is the Leia shaped. It's got a beveled edge to it, and this is an Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's got a slightly different flared edge to it, so it's a little bit round. They all look a little bit different. They all have their own unique flavors, and they also kind of reflect the lineage of those parts over the course of it. So let me show you the cool bit of this, how this looks, all this connected and everything. So this is in the correct configuration, or the screen configuration, right? The way that this would look on screen for an Obi-Wan Kenobi. I can flip that up on end like that. You can look straight down it and see the wind vane markings kind of along that space, or in that area, the wind vane gaps inside of it. There's a recess actually on the top of that wind vane that allows this to sit just a little bit deeper and allow you to see those a little bit more clearly from the top of it as you're holding it, right? So there's that piece, that element, and I can't tell if you can see it very well. There it goes. Let it focus. Hopefully you can kind of see the difference of the variation in the wind vane. So the wind vane is not VHC threaded. It's actually an M30 by 1, and I did that because the M29 by 1 looked a little funny in that space. I think I did that. Let me see. I'm pretty sure it's a 30 by 1. Yeah, about 90% certain. I was really, really close to threading it for VHC because I thought that it would be really cool to drop it down inside of one of these, right? And then you would see it kind of sitting in the end of it. Should I have done that? Probably. I'm a little too far past it now, but that's okay. It's something that can be done for a future version or a modification or something like that. I'm not that worried about it. Besides, you'd have this weird situation where you have that on the inside of it poking all the way down if you try to do it. So yeah, I guess it could be done, but I thought that it didn't look very good. It didn't look as good. So when I put this on here, you would end up seeing, instead of that really stark like drop off on that, you would have seen like a rounded spot inside of there where it was basically like too short for the piece, right? Or not too short, but where it was, let's see here, try to explain this. Because it would be a lot shorter on the inside, you would lose a lot of that wind vane definition. That's what I'm trying to say. Because at 30 millimeters, you have a lot more, it looks a lot bigger and it's more pronounced. That wind vane effect is more pronounced. But either way, I'm going to finish explaining this. So this is the Obi-Wan configuration, and you can kind of see some detailing here and some detailing here, which are more aligned to the Obi-Wan Kenobi look. The Leia look, I'll pull that one up next. Or actually, let's do this. I'll do it in order of the places that we saw this. So this is the Luke shape, and so it threads on the same exact way. And when I flip this, you can see that more of that wind vane is covered. And I made a conscious, excuse me, I made a conscious effort here to cover that up because on the Luke, stand by one second. On the Luke itself, it's actually a solid component or a solid piece. And I had to make this fit my current thin neck and give it some character in the same way that I give kind of all my parts. So it's not an exact Luke, and I think that it's also kind of cool that it shows some of the lineage of the Obi-Wan Kenobi, his lineage to Obi-Wan Kenobi as a Jedi. So it has, some peaking elements of the peaking elements there. You can kind of just barely see those wind vane elements from the top side here. Yes, an MPP shroud does fit over the grenade grip. And then from underneath, if you look at it from the underside, so if I connected this to a grenade grip and set this down, you would be able to look at this and see, oh, that looks like a Luke. But when I flip it, it has a little bit of Obi-Wan Kenobi in it too. So it's kind of cool and unique in its own way, and I think it sets it apart as a neat little under element that's kind of hidden from view. You actually kind of have to go look for it and seek it out, right? So there's that piece of it. And I'll go ahead and grab the Leia really quick. Drop that off of there. And here's the Leia. These are just little tiny subtle differences between the parts, right? So there's a Leia. And the Leia is built similarly to the Obi-Wan Kenobi. It has a little groove inside of it that fits on the top of it. And it sits down a little bit lower, similar to the Obi-Wan Kenobi. In fact, they're almost cousins or sisters to one another, these two pieces. So let me hold that up here for you to look at. Man, these lights are just killing it tonight, huh? Trying to make it so where you can see that edge. There it goes. There it is. Okay. All right, so just like all of my thin necks, if you aren't aware of my thin neck system, you should be, because my thin neck system allows you to do this and invert it. So not only do I have a whole nother look to the thin neck insert itself, now I also have a new look for my shroud too. And yeah, you're right, Ace, Eno Cordova does. So it kind of facilitates an Eno Cordova build if you really wanted one. But all of my thin necks are able to do this. They're threaded the same thread on each end. It allows you to invert a thin neck whichever direction you want it to go. And in this case, because I didn't touch this item, it's on there and it gives you the second look. And one of the cool things about this particular element is this, right? I can take this guy off. I'm going to show you real time. Flip this to this end. And I can thread that on the opposite end. Just like that. So now I have 3 looks. It actually ends up being 4 total looks if you're counting. So it's 1 look A, flip it for a B, and then an A and a B side for both of those thin necks as well. So you're able to get a really cool opportunity to flip and flop and change these around in whichever way you want to make it. And that's doable with basically all of these. So let me disconnect this one again. So here's that one. And remember, we had it facing the other direction the last time. We had this rib facing to the north. Now it's facing to the south. So this is just inverted. The threads work the same way. It does all the things, all the exact same things that we wanted it to do in the first place in that component. And that was done intentionally, right, to make sure that there was options available. I've always been about optionality and having multiple uses for these parts. Making sure that you're able to use them in multiple ways to create the designs and structures that you want and see all the big guys doing out there. We can even do it with a Luke really quick too. I actually want to put a Luke on upside down because I haven't seen one upside down before. So I'm gonna put it on the other way. One thing to keep in mind is that the threads would be reversed. So if you typically spin or you do something with it that puts a lot of torque on this, it might be worthwhile to put like a little dot of like black, or not black, really stick that on there, like one dot of blue Loctite, the lowest level Loctite on it, and just let it sit in the threads on one of those so that it will keep it tight. And all you have to do is put a hairdryer on it, warm it up, and give it a little twist, and it would come loose. But there's a Luke upside down, just like I thought that it would look. That's kind of cool. Gives you an upside down Luke option, right? So pull this guy off of here again. And whoops, sorry about your ears there. That's that. It's all 5 of those parts in concert, in combination together. Oh, I did want to show you this piece really quick. Let me put this back together really fast. I'm going to put an Obi-Wan on this, and we're gonna put some items on here. So you wanted to see the a MPP shroud fit over the grenade grip. So I'll show you that really quick. I think I've got one. I actually got to take it off of this Saber here, so give me 1 second. 1 sec. I have it. It's just really put on another customer Saber, so I got to pull that off. Copper on the wind vanes. Yes, that would actually look really, really cool. I don't have any copper that I can put on the wind vanes to show you that, but I can show you this piece. So you asked about the grenade grip. Yes, the MPP does fit over the grenade grip, and it also fits over top of the thin neck too. So it slides over the thin neck, the wind vane cover, all that stuff, and all of my other shrouds will do the same thing too. So if you wanted to put on a Cal Kestis type shroud, you could do that. Of course, you'd have to drill to mount it on this end, right? But you could put a Cal Kestis shroud over top of that. You could put, sorry for the noise there. You could put a Corax over top of that if you wanted to. Do all kinds of things with it, right? Got a lot of stuff happening over here on the side. But again, it's always about options. I've wanted this for a long time, and I've spent a long time thinking about how to design these elements. Here's a Ren shroud just for giggles. I was gonna say something else there, but I don't have my call button fast enough at hand to hit it. But there's a Ren shroud. Try to get an image or a look at this with the Ren shroud on it. It's better if I just take an actual picture of it and show you guys, but you know, all these elements are 33 millimeters, and they're all able to work with one another. At least the outer diameter is, so it'll stay supported kind of all the way through. Let's see, I can put together a quick top end, I guess we'll call it here. There's that. I need one of these. What am I looking for here? I need that guy. I need one of these. Whoa, where did I put them? There it is. I had one. I had it out and ready. If you're building sabers, I definitely recommend using rubber gloves when you're building. Not because the materials are gross or they're yucky to touch or anything like that, but because they give you a lot of extra grip, and because we're building with some parts that are small and modular in different ways, it's always a good idea to have things that grip so that you can get a hold of these items and move them around. Yeah, you know, I don't mind that they're all aluminum. That doesn't bother me at all, and I'm sorry that it bothers you, but I probably won't offer them in anything but bare aluminum, because I think that offering them in those other colors, or making them available in those other colors, it kind of is really heavy on costs, right? It makes it a lot more expensive to have a lot more variants of this, and then two, it also has a tendency to make it a little bit harder for people to do the modifications that they might want to do, especially if you have intent to take some of these off or do anything else with it. I kind of just stopped that piece a little bit short there. I know that some people have done it. And I've talked about my philosophy and why I'm making these in raw aluminum versus making them in anodized colors. Is one is cost. It costs money to do that, and I'm kind of working on a shoestring budget. Oh, I got you. Yeah, I get you. I'm working on, I don't want to say a shoestring budget, but a dedicated budget that's aiming at, bringing these things to life. And then two, I really, really believe that there are a lot of people in the community that do a lot of great work. And so by keeping these bare aluminum, I'm making work available for people in the community to be able to do more stuff, right? So I know a bunch of anodizers in the Saber community, and I try to try to send people that direction, allow them to do that stuff so that they get that opportunity to get work too. So that's kind of my philosophy behind it. It sounds like a cop-out, I guess, but the first and foremost is, making something in a different color is costly, and having multiple colorways is costly because now I have to stock multiple things and spend multiple days of my life figuring out what my inventory process is or supposed to be for all of those things, instead of designing more parts when I can outsource that effort to somebody else to do. And I think that that's the right thing to do, just because it gives people jobs, right? It gives people things to work on. So let me pull this out of here really quick. If I can get it. Wow, that was crazy. It was really, really tight, and then it got really, really loose. Let me just do a thing. Let me do this build, because this is cool. I'll take my hands out of here, and hopefully the camera will focus in just a little bit. If you weren't aware, the Type 3 bodies are basically the same length as a standard VHC switch. So if you ever need a VHC switch in a position, right, to cover something or to be used for a switch box, or you want to drill it, put a hole in it for a switch, the Type 3 bodies are the perfect length for that. I actually designed them for that, by the way. I was hoping that somebody would ask a question, but that's not going to be a thing. So I happen to have a VHC Type 2 box here available to play with, just to put it on here and play with, to test it out and look at it. I'm not going to torque it down or anything. I'm just going to hold it in place with my hands. But you can kind of get an idea on what a Obi-Wan Vader Nobi, a Vader Wan Kenobi, I guess, might look like if maybe Vader won against Obi-Wan, or they settled their differences and adopted each other's designs. Something fun to play around with. I got a couple more parts I could probably put on this. Let's see, what do we got? My voice is starting to strain just a little bit. It's starting to feel a little rough. Let's do that. There's one of those and one of these. This is where the booster would go. I don't have a booster yet, but we put a booster in this space here, and we can get to something else here really quick. I've got an extra part floating around that's a VHC emitter, or excuse me, a VHC pommel, and it's not a perfect Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, Darth Sass, that would work too. But you got an Obi-Wan Kenobi mixed with a Darth Vader kind of thing. You could probably do something cool on the bottom with a Graflex bottom end, right? Make this into a Graflex bottom with something like, something like this, maybe. I don't know. I'm just goofing around now. This wasn't really meant to be a build sesh, but it turned into one really quick, so sometimes that's where the coolest stuff happens. I don't have a really good bottom end here, but could do something like that. It's too long. I can't put it in the camera no mo. There you go. It could be something like that, maybe. I don't know. I'm just playing around with thought processes, but you kind of see the direction that I was going with all these pieces. It's actually, sometimes I joke around on the cast, like I took conscious effort to design this thing in this fashion so that it does that. And then when I do the thing and it shows up and it's working really, really well, it kind of amazes me. It surprises me. And this is one of those elements that kind of surprised me, right? I knew that it was going to be cool. I just didn't know how stinking cool it was going to be. And here we are. I'm looking right at it. And I have a really cool component structure that is... It's really, really awesome. What am I doing? Nope, that's not working either. I want it to zoom in. Oh my God! No! Oh, jeez, dude. Hold on a second. Oh shit. This this is supposed to control my camera, and this camera actually has the same frequency. This camera has the same frequency as my light, my key light. So when I press the button to hit like increase view or like zoom, it cranked the entire brightness to like 9,000. It went Super Saiyan mode. Hey Shade, what's up, dude? Welcome. Yeah, my key light just went to like 9,000 and decided it was time to go super bright mode. So that was really fun. Yeah, so I was just showing everybody how this thing kind of interacts. So you have to go back and look at it. I don't know if I'm going to do another explanation of it here on this cast right now. But I was just showing what a Darth Sass lightsaber shape would look like. Oh, it looks like my camera did zoom out quite a bit, so you can see all the mess that's over here instead of the tight shot that's down here in the front. And that kind of sucks, because it looks like I'm all messy. Let me see if I can get this thing tightened up really quick. Ah, there we go. We brought it back. So I gotta push the 7X. Yeah, the 7X button to get it down to that shape, or that space right there. So here's the Darth Sass top end, basically. Show these guys the wind vane, how everything works inside of it. If you know my parts, you know I built it all to be modular. So you can interchange all these different pieces and elements in it. Excuse me, in and out. Ooh, watch that. Making adjustments here, kind of on the fly. So these are the 5 new parts that are going to be coming here in the next couple of weeks. The wind vane section of these parts, or excuse me, the wind vane section. This is the wind vane insert, actually, the wind vane thin neck insert. You can see all the cool little wind vane slots inside there, and several of these. There's 3 of them. There's a Luke, a Leia, and an Obi-Wan Kenobi themed or styled wind vane cover that threads on. You can thread it on either direction, and it will fit both ways. I was explaining to everybody there's a calculation for the number of permutations of variations of this design, and with all 3 of these parts and this component here, it comes out to like 16 different ways that this can be put together, just like my other thin necks. So when you combine this with that thin neck component, that set of components, you're looking at, let's see, there's these 2 here, so you could do male to female, male to female. Here's one here. This is the female. I've never really done this on the cast before to explain this, but you can see that one of these is a male and one of these is the female version of this. These are male version, female version. So there's those 2 pieces there. And we have, if I can get this apart now. Of course it's going to do that on the cast for me. I was going the wrong way. You got to remember lefty tighty, righty loosey, or whatever that phrase is, right? So there's your wind vane. You have 3 variations of wind vane cover. Each of those you can flip upside down, along with the wind vane itself will flip upside down, and you can go this way, this way, this way, or this way, this way, this way, or this way, this way, this way, among other directions. Just make a grip of just wind vanes. I guess you could, but it'd probably be really expensive. A grip out of just wind vanes. I've tried to explain this to people, and I don't really do a great job, and I actually don't have any of my thin neck items over here because I just took new pictures of all of them. They're over on the other workbench across the room where my photo booth is at. But essentially, you end up with a a combination of parts that go something like that. And if you go from female to female or male to male, you can also cross it and go male to female or female to male on those parts. And so it makes a lot of opportunity for customization through just this one component of the thin neck. And when you start adding in the other thin necks, the thin neck capability expands so far beyond where we're at right now that it makes it one of the most option-driven thin neck capabilities on the market for VHC. I don't know anybody else that's doing something like this yet, and I'm going to claim it for the time being, at least until somebody makes something better. And I'm looking at now. It's actually an hour into the cast. I just sat here and talked about this wind vane thin neck thing for like freaking an hour, man. That went by really, really fast, and I had plans to do a quick Let's Design. I don't think I'm going to be able to make that mark. But these 5 components will be going live. Probably, let's see, not live. They're going to production as soon as I get off of this cast. I'm going to do a quick redesign. I made a mistake with the Luke. I actually designed this tolerance and this tolerance for it to pass over to be 0. And the variance or the variation in the design, so you can barely see it and hear that it just barely drags across that. And I designed it really tightly so that they would have a zero clearance. So basically be a really tight fit across that, so that I could get the most coverage of those wind vanes. Well, the tolerance that they had on it was just a little too high, and now it wouldn't fit across. So I had to sand away some of the interior of that. So I got to expand that just a little bit, and I'm ready to go to I'm ready to go to production now for this. So I'm going to come back over this direction to the actual, back over here to the actual camera to finish out the rest of this cast. So, like I said, these parts are going to be going to go to production here. Is probably as soon as I get off the cast. I'm going to put in my my order, and the team at production, or excuse me, at the manufacturing center, the factory. Gosh, I can't say the right words. The team at the factory are going to grab them and start working on making those. And I was told that there was some stuff going on at the factory that means there might be some delay. I don't think it's going to take very long. They should be able to get it resolved. There's a holiday, like Labor Day, that's coming for them, their Labor Day, which I don't know what that means really, but other than they're not going to be working or doing labor stuff. So their Labor Day plus there was a firing, or someone left at that factory, so it's slowed down production just a little bit, and they've been overproducing or adding a lot of extra capability to their factories. So it might take a little bit of time to get those wind vanes, but I have confidence between those and the parts that I showed you previously on in the cast that we discussed, the bends, that I'll have something cool to show you. And if those parts don't show up in May, which will really make me mad because I was trying to do a May 4th thing, if they don't show up for May, then I'll maybe be mad. I might shed a tear, but we'll press on and use something like the schema kits or something like that to give you guys an extra part for that season or that period. I might also start working on kitting the thin neck. I've gotten a lot of people that have asked me questions. They're like, I don't know how the thin neck works. So I had one guy order a thin neck, and he only ordered the thin neck insert, but he didn't order the rest of the thin neck components. And so I think that I need to put together a thin neck kit for people to order so that they can get the whole thing all at one time. And I think my brain is going towards put all the thin neck bodies inside of a kit, not in all the bodies, all of the thin neck components inside one kit. So a male, a female, and all of the necks all at the same time. So it'll be one kit, the entire thin neck, and you can buy all these other inserts, this other stuff that I'm making over here as a separate kit, which would be the wind vane kit for the Corvus Saber Foundry thin neck system. I don't know. I'm still working on whether or not I want to do that. I think that's the right way to do it, but I've got some like goofiness with the Saber, with the kitting, and when I make the kits, it puts the parts it requires those parts to be listed as a separate part inside of my portfolio, which means it makes them available for people to click to a link and go buy them independently, which really is annoying when you're trying to sell something as one whole kit, because I have 100 of these parts, 100 of each of these other parts that all need to go together. And so when I try to sell them all together, people decide they want to buy them independently. And I took offense to that. It just makes it more difficult for inventory because now I got to keep track of more stuff. If I just have them separately as unlisted parts that you can't access, just buy the kit. It's a lot easier that way, and you'll get all the things. It's not a money grab, I promise. It's just easier for people, I think. They'll see it, they'll understand it, they'll play around with it, do whatever. Anyways, I've been on the soapbox for too long. This has been the Corvus Cast. Again, I'm going to plug the Discord. I think all of you that are in the chat right now are in the Discord or have been in the Discord. If you're new, a new customer or a new viewer to the channel, and you're coming by, Discord is the best way to get a hold of me. It's probably the best way to contact me. There's communication that happens all the time inside of the Discord, whether it's development, whether it's builds. I want to see your builds, so bring those. A schema kit for the thin neck. Yeah, I could do that, but I was actually just going to do a full kit. You're not wrong. Really, honestly, it's not one of those kits to do. Let's see here, maybe not. It is a kit that you can do with it, but it would be kind of difficult, I think, based on the variety of the stuff in the thin neck. Somebody wants to do it, you can be my guest and try and figure it out, and we can come to a conclusion on that. Either way, I think that's it for me. I think that's my night. It's now 9 o'clock. The cast is pretty well much wound down. I wanted to do a Let's Design. Que sera, sera. That's whatever it is. I want to thank every single one of you for attending. This has been a great cast, and thank you for the interaction throughout the entirety of it, the chat and the discussion and engagement. It's been a lot of fun. I think it's time for me to go, so I'm going to get out of here. The crows are telling you what's up. It's time for me to go. See you guys later. I'm out.